Hello, dear outliers. Welcome to the Outlier Marketer Show. My name is Kumar Achanta, and I'm a visual storyteller and one of the hosts for this show. Let us start today's episode of the Outlier Marketer Show. Think, act, and be different. We have an amazing guest on the show today. And before I introduce the guest, let me talk about the outlier marketer himself. Praveen Shekhar is an outlier marketer and a raconteur. Unconventional marketing is his forte. When the world moves one way, you need to move another. That's Praveen's philosophy and work style. As a parallel entrepreneur, Praveen has taken companies from startup to $1 million in revenues. Praveen is the recipient of the American Marketing Association's Emerging Leader Award. He is also the recipient of Ginny Valentine Award for skilling and employing people with disabilities. And today's episode has been sponsored by cando.ind.in, a social entity that skills and provides employment for people with disabilities. So if you're based in India, check out their website at cando.ind.in. They're working towards skilling and employing 100 people with disabilities in the next 12 months, and you can support them. And yes, today, the Outlier Marketers Show, the amazing guest which I was talking about is Mark Schaefer. Our speaker today is globally renowned author, speaker, podcaster, and business consultant. He's a prolific writer and speaker whose work sits at the intersection of marketing, technology, and humanity. He has advanced degrees in marketing and organizational development, holds 7 patents, and is faculty member of the Graduate Studies program at Rutgers University. He is the best-selling author of 9 popular books, including the very first on influence marketing. His blog, Grow, and podcast, The Marketing Companion, are ranked among the top-rated publications in the marketing field. His clients range from successful startups to the global brands such as Adidas, Johnson & Johnson, Dell, the US Air Force, and the UK government. And he has appeared on media channels such as CNN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and CBS News. All the way from Tennessee, where his very own bees make honey that wins blue ribbons at the state fair. Please help me welcome Mark Schaefer to this show. Over to you, Praveen.
Lovely. Thank you, Kumar. And welcome to the Outlier Marketer Show, Think, Act, and Be Different, where we talk to marketers around the world, movers and shakers. And Mark, welcome to the show. My first question is, 9 books and going on, what's the common thread that you have woven through in these 9 books?
Definitely the thread for me, the trajectory of my career has been struggling with this idea. In fact, I think this is the essential idea for any business and any marketer today. How can we be heard? How can we be seen? How can we be discovered in this world of overwhelming information density? So from the beginning, where I wrote the first book on influence marketing to show the world is changing. The power is shifting from media companies to people, to the content code, teaching companies how to stand out with their content, to known about personal branding. How do we use these lessons ourselves? And most recently, cumulative advantage. How do we build momentum against all odds when the world seems to be working against us? So that's the theme of really all of my books in one way or another.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant in terms of using content, being known, using your personal brand to your tagline, rising above the noise, which is, there's so much more noise in the world these days. So yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up your books and also spreading it across. But Mark, you are an author, a professional speaker, much in demand, a consultant, a coach. You've also got a podcast, which means you've interacted with, and a professor. So you've interacted with so many wannabe entrepreneurs to really successful ones. And I would request you to dwell on one episode where either you've seen, experienced absolutely something unconventional or out of the world? Because that's what the Outlier Show is about. So we would love to hear one episode or an experience.
Well, I'm going to explain something that seems rather common on the surface, but I think it's rather profound. So a few months ago, I interviewed the famous author Tom Peters on my podcast. Tom is the author of the best-selling business book in history, Good to Great, and he's retiring. So this was one of the last interviews that he's ever done. And as I was talking to him, it occurred to me what made him special, what made him stand out. And it's this, Praveen. He is absolutely bold. And I couldn't help but think about, boy, he is bold. And to me, that means being honest without fear. And that's not always easy. So it sounds simple on the surface, but being honest without fear, I think that is a real differentiator that a lot of people, I think they might be fearful of embracing that. And I think that's what I'm known for, is that, I don't have an agenda. I'm trying to find the truth. I'm trying to be honest without fear.
Ooh, Mark, the most profound things are always this simple. Being honest without fear. And where I come from, I can tell you that there are layers and layers and makeup of vanity, of something, of trying to be something or someone else, just to get over and hide that fear. But from what you say, if I'm being honest with my fear and being vocal about it, I don't have anything to be afraid of. Oh boy. That's as outlierish as we can think of here. Thank you very much for sharing that, Mark. Be honest without fear. Thank you. That's what I love about the show, Mark. When we interact with a lot of people like you, there's so much to learn. There's so many experiences that we learn through osmosis. Thank you. Now, you've written one of the first books on influencer marketing, even before influencer marketing became a fad. And then you've got Return on Influence and a whole lot of rebellion that you're talking about. We are currently researching on selling without selling, where the premise is primarily building a tribe, building a smaller tribe. And when you build your own tribe, the tribe that resonates with you, you automatically rise above the noise. And the question again relates to your book and experiences. How and where does a tribe fit in if I have to rise above the noise for this particular group?
Well, I think the essential mindset today is that a brand used to be what we told you it was through our advertising, through our marketing, through our events or our public relations. But today, a brand is what people tell each other. 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. So the mindset today has to be not telling people about who we are and how great we are and all the products that we have. The mindset today has to be earning our way into that 2/3, earning our way into that narrative, that consumer conversation. People don't see ads like they used to. We're in a streaming economy. People avoid ads. They skip ads. I listen to more music than I've ever listened to in my life, but I listen to Spotify. There are no ads. I watch streaming television. And when people see ads, they tend to not believe them anyway. But we do believe each other. We believe our friends. We believe our neighbors. We believe these people we call influencers, who, Praveen, are really just our trusted friends. They just live online. They're our neighbors, but they live online. And so this is really the new essential mindset of not broadcasting, but earning the right to have our stories told by our customers.
Brilliant. Mark, I have a follow-on question to that. And this is more from a measurement angle. And I know I'm talking to Mark, the adjunct professor as well. Where I come from in India, a lot of these influence used to be peddled word of mouth. I remember my grandmom was an influencer in that area. She knew which movie to go to, which shop had a deal running, etc. in those days. And now bulk of this happens over WhatsApp and other medium like Telegram, which is not measured at all. So how can I, as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, get a handle? Because every survey, every report only talks about what is visible. But where I come from, Mark, there's so much that goes on in terms of influence, in terms of recommendation for movies or which product to buy is unmeasured, not yet measured. So how do we look at it from a word of mouth influence measurement perspective?
That's really a great question. And first I want to couch my answer by saying that I am a data geek and a measurement geek. But I also want to emphasize that some things, as we embrace these new aspects of marketing, they are very difficult to measure. In some cases, they're impossible to measure. And what I would suggest is that we look at what we're doing in marketing and experiment. Take maybe 10% of your marketing budget, maybe even 15% of your marketing budget, and start working with content, word of mouth marketing, influencer marketing, and then think about, well, if this worked the way I think it might work, what would come true? Would we be seeing more transactions? Would we be seeing more content? I personally think the most powerful digital marketing metric, other than conversions, is social sharing. Are people sharing our stories and our content? That's a sign of advocacy. That's a sign in a virtual way. People are standing up and saying, I believe this, and I want you to believe this. This inspired me, and I want you to be inspired. Now, if we have people doing that, that's better than any advertising we could ever pay for. Measurement has always been difficult when it comes to branding. And it's still difficult, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. That doesn't mean we should be locked in to this infrastructure that doesn't work anymore just because we've got a beautiful dashboard. We need to be bold. We need to experiment with some of these other practices, and the measurement eventually will catch up.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Mark, preparing for this discussion, we went through your website, businessesgrow.com, and something jumped straight out at me was the free PDF playbook, the pandemic business playbook that you created specifically for entrepreneurs and a whole lot of us who are going through a lot of turmoil with no end in sight. But thank you very much for that. Listeners and viewers, businessesgrow.com, go ahead and download the pandemic business playbook. Now, when we read through it, there was a story that you mentioned about Alcoa, the company that you worked with earlier, and that resonated deeply with me because I also believe in longer-term investment rather than just short-term gains. But may I request you to tell that story in your own voice, Mark, for our viewers and listeners?
Sure. And first, I want to direct your listeners to the correct place. It's actually businessesgrow.com. It's plural. So people will be frustrated if they go to business. So it's businessesgrow.com. The story that I told in this playbook, this free PDF that I gave to the world, was a way to show how in a time of crisis, it's not just an opportunity to connect and grow as a business and as a brand, but perhaps it's an opportunity to become legendary. So this was a story when I was a young man. I was a sales manager, and I had a customer who we were just destroying with quality problems. We were shutting down their plant, but they kept buying from us. So I flew to Philadelphia to have lunch with the president of the company, and I said, boy, we appreciate your loyalty, but I really don't understand why you're not hedging your bets and buying from our competitors. He said, well, let me tell you. He said, my father founded this company, And during World War II, our business was going under because our products weren't relevant anymore. We had to retool for the war effort, but we didn't have the money to do it. We didn't have the technology to do it. We didn't have the right equipment. And your company, Alcoa, came in with the technical resources to teach us how to do this. They helped finance the equipment we needed to make it to the other side. We only exist today because your company was there in a crisis. You were there when we needed you. And on my father's deathbed, he said to me, never leave Alcoa. They brought us to the dance, and we never will. And it shows how taking extraordinary measures, bold measures, can result in this sort of legendary loyalty that even transcends generations. I think one of the things we need to think about is that this is great branding is about building emotion. And this is a great opportunity to build that sort of emotion with our customers and our fans by rolling up our sleeves and doing something, not just saying, in this unprecedented time, we are with you. Everybody's tired of hearing that. Millions of our fans and customers are suffering. They're grieving over losses. And this is a time to roll up our sleeves and not just be in a community, but to be of a community and show up in a meaningful way.
That's so lovely, being of a community, being a part of it, and not just doing tokenism, but actually contributing. And viewers and listeners, there are lots of such examples in this playbook, Businessesgrowcom, and we will also have that in the ticker and the bio. Now, you've got a new book that's come out. I would love to know more about the new book. I've not downloaded it yet, but Mark, go ahead, please, and tell us about your new book.
Well, thank you, Praveen. And again, it sort of follows on with this theme of transcending the overwhelming noise in our world to be seen, to be heard, to be known. And it's just pressing on so many of my clients, my customers, and my students. And I discovered that even people who are doing great work, who are doing excellent work, are still being buried today. They're just not being found. So how do we get to that next level if we're stuck, if we just can't break through? And it led me to this idea of momentum. What is momentum? What carries us to this next level? And what I discovered is that actually there's been a lot of very actionable, effective research that's been conducted on this idea of momentum. How does it start? How does it continue? How does it really work? There's a pattern to momentum. It just hasn't been applied to our lives, our ideas, and our businesses in a practical way. And so that's what I do in this book. I spent more than a year discovering this research and coming and discovering these patterns. Sometimes I went down some deep holes to find what I needed to find, but I came up with this pattern and came up with an actionable plan that people can use to really apply it to their own businesses, their own content, their own personal brands. And it really works. I can guarantee you, if you read this book, you'll never see the world the same way again. You'll see these patterns over and over again. So just being aware of the pattern is a great first step to applying it to your own life.
Could you point us to the book right behind you?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's right here. I thought
yes.
I'm the worst author in the world because I don't have a copy of the book sitting here, but it's right here.
There it is. Cumulative advantage. So folks, go check it out. Now, I'm an author myself, and this is a very selfish question. What keeps you ticking? what next? 9 books. What's your formula? Because each one of our formula is different, and I'd love to know Mark Schaefer's formula.
Well, the essential formula for me is that, first of all, I have to say that writing a book for me is a big deal. It's so much sacrifice. It takes, I devote 2 years of my life to this. And it's hard work. It's also the riskiest thing you can ever do for a personal brand. It's not like putting up a blog post that you can take down later if you don't like it. When you launch a book into the world, it's a permanent statement about you and your brand, and it just doesn't go away. So it's something you have to take very seriously. And the real idea for me, Praveen, that is essential is that I look for problems and questions that seem to be pervasive among my audience, my customers, my students and my classes that I just can't figure out. So for example, my book, Known. Can anybody become known? I don't know. Nobody could really answer this question. How does it happen? Is there a pattern? Could you create this pattern and apply it to everybody? So that's what I figured out. How do you become known? I actually interviewed 97 people who are known in their fields around the world, and I found there are 4 things everybody does, no exceptions. Marketing rebellion. The theme behind that was I was going around the world. Marketers kept telling me, we're falling behind. We're overwhelmed. Our marketing doesn't work like it used to. And I had to figure out why. What in the world is going on? Marketing rebellion is a wake-up call. It explains exactly why marketing doesn't work like it used to. So that's the heart of all my books. It starts with some difficult question. And I become obsessed with this question, not in a good way. And I become obsessed with it until I figure it out. And when I figure it out, it becomes a book.
Lovely. We started with the book. We ended with the book here. Thank you very much, Mark, for donating your time, knowledge. To me, honest without fear, genuine brand emotion on a longer term. Get the momentum going, and you need to keep pushing that forward. So thank you very much, Mark. And to all the viewers and listeners, tune in, put your comments, and go ahead, visit our sponsors website, cando.ind.in. CEOs, marketers, and HR professionals, all we request is hire one person with disability, feed an entire family, and that's the least we could do. Be an outlier, think, act, and be different. Thank you once again, Mark.
Thank you.